Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Ali. I'm a final year medical student at Cambridge University, and in this video, me and two of my friends, we're going to be answering a few questions that you guys have sent in via Instagram about revision and about study tips. It's just gone midnight, I've got massive light shining in my face, and we spent like the last hour and a half filming answers to about 25 questions that you guys sent in. About 150 of you sent in messages on Instagram. Thank you so much for that. There were a lot to get through, but we've tried to kind of find the most common ones, the ones that are most broadly applicable to you, whether you're at GCSE, A-levels, or at university and studying for exams. So those are the questions that we're going to be focusing on in this series. And to keep things semi-manageable, this video is going to be probably about 20 minutes long because we're going to be focusing on the questions related to motivation, stress, time management. So as usual, everything we're going to be talking about is going to be linked in timestamps and in the description below. We all have exams coming up, so please don't feel like you have to watch this whole video. Feel free to look in the description and read all the questions and just click on the timestamp for the one that applies to you the most. Or if you've done your work for the day and you've got 20 minutes to spare and you want to hear advice from 3 Cambridge medical students who have done lots of exams in their lives, and if I can say, we've all done reasonably well in all of our exams. We absolutely smashed our GCSEs and A-levels, especially. Anyway, if you want to hear advice from us, then please do your work first and then kind of watch this whole video. Firstly, we're going to be talking about how to stay focused during your study periods. Secondly, it's a quick discussion about how many hours minimum you should be doing per day. Thirdly, we're talking about motivation and that feeling of, oh, I can't be asked to do anything, and how you combat that. Fourthly, we're going to talk about organizing your time while setting up study sessions and revision timetables and all that. Fifthly, we're going to talk about how to cope with the stress of having an offer that you need to make and kind of, a lot of the anxiety associated with that. Sixth, we're going to give you some tips on how to cope with subjects that you absolutely hate revising for, but you have to do anyway. And finally, we're going to give you some tips on what you can do the night before or the morning of your exams to reduce levels of anxiety and stress. So as I said, this video is going to be focused on the motivation, the stress, the feelingsy side of things. And then in the next video, that'll be us talking about specific study tips. A lot of you have sent questions in about specific things about spaced repetition, active recall, flashcards, and specific questions about certain subjects. So we'll be tackling that in the next video. But yeah, now we're going to switch back to us from about 2 hours ago when we were answering questions about motivation. Again, timestamps in the description below. Please don't feel like you have to watch the whole video, but I really hope you gain something from it. And yeah, Paul and Katherine are going to be helping me give answers to these questions. So thank you for sending them in, and yeah, we'll see you at the end. So, question number 1 is, how do you stay focused during a study session? Doesn't your mind wander? Any ideas on this front, you guys?
So sometimes when I'm doing flashcards, I get really distracted and just start thinking about what I'm having for dinner. It's a common theme. So writing stuff down as you go along helps, just even writing a letter or the first 3 letters of whatever fancy medical term it is.
That's a really good point, actually. This is why I make notes in lectures. I've talked about in the past about why making notes is a waste of time, but I think making notes inside a lecture by hand is a useful strategy because it keeps you awake, and that's what you do as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I definitely do make notes in lectures because I think I'm a kinesthetic learner, so that means that I learn best when I'm doing things, fiddling around, writing stuff down.
Okay.
Yeah.
On that note, there is no evidence for any of this visual, auditory,
Really?
Kinesthetic stuff.
Is there?
It's all BS that we've been taught by teachers in school. Absolutely no evidence for it. But yeah, so yeah, that was a tip for staying focused. Write stuff down. Any other tips for staying focused?
Well, I think we always tend to get distracted, so you can tell yourself that you want to work in short bursts. So you can say 5 minutes of doing this or 20 minutes of doing this, and then you take a 5-minute break after that. So incentivizing yourself with those short bursts and then telling yourself that for the period of time you're working, you have to stay focused.
On that note, there's 2 great tools along those lines, which are firstly the Pomodoro technique. I've said that funny but oh well. Which is where you work for about 25 minutes to give yourself a 5-minute rest, and you can do that repeatedly, so you do 25-5, 25-5. And I have friends who sit in cafes working furiously with their friends for 25 minutes. For 5 minutes they all chat about their plans for the weekend, then they go straight back into work again. And that works really well for some people. Secondly, there's apps like Forest, which lock you out of your social media accounts and whatever apps on your phone so that you can't get distracted by those. And again, you can set them for a timer so you can do stuff in short bursts, set yourself nice little goals.
I was going to say, just leave your phone in another room.
Genuinely.
It's a good tactic for staying focused. A good tactic for also helping you get to sleep as well, apparently, leaving your phone on your desk or in a different room. On the note of the Pomodoro technique, I really like the Pomodoro technique. I don't really use it these days, but in the undergrad days, we used to get a group of my Asian friends. We'd all go to the Emmanuel College Library and we'd all kind of do the same Pomodoros, kind of like Katherine said. We used to tap once on the table when the pom would start. We used to call it a pom, and then we'd tap twice when it was time to have a break, and then we'd tap 3 times when the break was over. So we had this kind of thing. It probably annoyed people in the library, but
Oh my gosh, you were the worst kind of people.
but it's fine. And actually now we formed a WhatsApp group called the Pomodoro Society, and then shortened it to PomSoc, and that group has been going strong for the last like 5 years. This is like a big friendship group created in exam term when we were all studying together. So that's another tip: study with your friends. It's really fun.
Along the same lines, setting yourself short-term achievable goals really helps. If you've got an entire textbook to tackle, a whole heap of notes to get through, instead of just saying, oh, I'll go at whatever pace and see what I get through when I get through it, set yourself little mini goals. You know, by the end of today I want to get this done, because if it's a big pile broken up into little chunks, it's a lot easier.
Cool. Question number 2: how many hours per day minimum should you do in exam term?
So there's working and there's working. So basically, I think what matters is the quality of the time which you spend working, not so much the quantity of time which you spend doing the work. I think one of the things which I find really useful is that I set myself a timetable and set myself goals for each day. So long as I know that I've ticked off the goal for that day, then that's been a good day. So whether that is, 5 hours of really bashing at it, or maybe more, maybe less, it all depends.
I think this question of like how many hours should you do is a bit of a pointless question to ask, because everyone learns at different paces. Everyone has different, baseline levels of intelligence. Everyone wants different grades from their exams. Everyone has different marks for their coursework, which means they need better marks in their exams to get the grade. There's all sorts of different factors that go into it. The IBS-BO method is 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work, and then 8 hours of doing anything else you want. I think that works quite well. If you're really going for that first or that top of the year or whatever, or you really, really, really want to smash it, might as well do 9 a.m. and 9 a.m. start in the library, 11 p.m. go home, sleep, repeat the process. If you do that for a short enough kind of bursty period of time, you can probably sustain that. I don't know. It just varies for everyone.
I think also that you don't want to burn yourself out. I find that if I have 2 days which I work for a long period of time, then the third day I'll just be completely mind-wandering, time-wasting, and then there'll be a write-off. So pace yourself.
Yeah. So in answer to how many hours should you do, I don't know, like work it up for yourself. It's better to be consistent than it is to like do 10 hours one day and then nothing for 2 days, because spaced repetition works on the basis of consistency. So even if you only do 3 hours a day or 4 hours a day or 2 hours a day, as long as you're doing efficient work and you're doing it well and you're keeping on top of it, don't worry too much. Kind of. Question number 3. Do you ever have days where you CBA and don't get anything done? How do you motivate yourself to stay consistent and work each day of the holidays? Yes, we all have days where we CBA and like can't be bothered to do anything and just kind of waste around the whole day. Today, what did we do?
Did lots of OSCE examinations.
We did, yeah. We did about 3 hours of OSCE prep in the afternoon, but absolutely nothing in the morning. Paul has a really good concept of save the day. Can you tell us about that?
So save the day is basically this idea that no matter how late it gets in the day, you can still save it. So even if it gets to 10 p.m. and you want to be in bed by 11 p.m, you can still put in a good half an hour of work, or 45 minutes, or whatever it is. It's never too late to save the day. You can always squeeze some time out to get some stuff done. So even if you come to the end of a day and you're annoyed at yourself for being unproductive, for procrastinating, you can still save the day.
I think in the context of holidays as well, it's quite good to give yourself more of a scheme for the week, and rather than just trying to work day after day after day and everything merges into the same pattern, actually decide, no, Saturday and Sunday I'm going to take a proper break, do something nice for myself, keep my morale up, and that way it breaks up the week. It's not just like this day after day after day slog. You can keep a bit of structure to it.
And in answer to the question of how do you motivate yourself to stay consistent, one thing that I really like doing is changing up the work environment, and someone actually specifically asked about this. So in exam terms in undergrad, when we used to live in Cambridge town centre, like in the city centre, I'd have this thing where each day I'd go to a different library. So I kind of went around like 20 different libraries in Cambridge, just because it's nice to change up your surroundings. And sometimes I find that if I'm getting really bored, I would like literally just go to Costa down the road, treat myself to a flat white, and just try and do some work then, because changing the atmosphere really helps.
If you're a person who timetables your revision like me, then always budget for some days in which you just don't feel like doing anything. And that gives you a bit of play, gives you a bit of wiggle room, and it gives you these days where you can tell yourself, fine, I'm not feeling like doing any work today, I'll use it to hang out with my friends or like take a revision break.
All right, question number 4. How do you organize your time when it comes to studying? 3-hour sessions or 30-minute sessions, and how long do you study for before taking a break? So I guess we sort of answered that in the Pomodoro technique thing, 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. I find kind of 45 minutes on, 5 minutes off, or equivalent used to work for me back when I was like really focused on essay preparation.
Yeah,
Yeah, about the same, and it varies according to tasks. So if you're doing flashcards, it might be a different intensity to if you're making notes.
At the end of the day, it's about ticking your goals off. It's not so much how much time you work. And we've talked about this.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's a thing we're going to keep coming back to. It's all about having goals in mind rather than thinking, oh, I've got to get 8 hours done today. Cool. Right, question number 5. How do you cope with the pressure of having an offer and sometimes freezing when you think about it? What if you work super hard and don't get the grades?
One of the best pieces of advice I was given at school about applying to university, because you've got space for, 4 or 5 applications, one of them should be shooting above what you could possibly hope for. So if you're applying right and maximising your potential, one of those should be applying beyond what you ever thought you could be, and then one, matching what you think you could get, one as a backup, and probably another one as a backup. But having that one that you could never believe you'd get and achieve that highly gives you something to strive for. Make sure that you're fulfilling your potential, and if you don't get it, that's okay, because at least you gave it a go. So I don't think it should be thinking about, oh, I've got to make this offer, the world's going to end if I miss this offer, everyone's going to be so disappointed in me, it's going to be horrible. Just focus on the fact that you gave it your very best shot.
Yeah, I like to think of it as telling myself to be motivated positively and not negatively. So what I mean by that is looking at things like, for example, I think, I have this chance to, for example, go to Cambridge. I have an offer from Cambridge, and Cambridge is an amazing place. I would love to go there. I'm going to work hard so that I can get there, rather than thinking, oh, I've got an A star, 2 A's kind of offer to meet. I might not make it. I'm being negative about it. So look at it positively. Look at it as you've got this chance, you've got this opportunity, and go out and get it.
Something I wanted to add to that is sort of practical advice, in the sense that, yeah, even if you don't get the grades, even if you don't make that offer, even if you end up going to a, in your opinion, less good university because it was your insurance rather than your firm, it's kind of, I think it's a comforting thought to know that, to be honest, most of us, there's this thing called hedonic adaptation in psychology where, even in the presence of major events in our lives, most of us just kind of revert back to our baseline level of happiness very, very quickly. They've done studies where they've looked at people winning the lottery, people losing access to all their limbs, becoming paraplegic, tetraplegic, and you find that within 2 months, they all go back to the baseline level of happiness. So, regardless of how much you covet that place at Oxford or Cambridge or Imperial or literally any other university, even if you don't end up going there, you'll still be as happy as if you went there. So I think that's a comforting thought, and that's one of the things that helps me cope with kind of thinking about stuff in the future.
Or a really grim thought, depending on how you look at it.
Anyway, question number 6. I am struggling with A-level maths. I've got my mocks coming up. How do you motivate yourself to deal with a subject that you absolutely hate studying? I think my advice for this would be, ask yourself why you hate studying it. Why do you hate maths? Usually we enjoy the things that we're good at. Usually we enjoy the things we understand. And the less, and kind of the more we understand, the more interest develops in this subject. So I've never particularly hated any subject at university. It's always the subjects I've enjoyed less have been the ones that I've been less good at. I was in middle set for French, which was a real kind of source of embarrassment for all my friends who were obviously in top set for everything. And I was like, oh yeah, you were in middle set French, yeah, screw you. But I wasn't very good at French. But then while I was in middle set French, I sort of decided to actively work on it, and then moved up to top set, obviously, and then I started enjoying French a lot more. So I think this is kind of you start enjoying the stuff that you work on, and if you find that you're hating maths, I don't know, try and understand it more, because maths is sick.
So obviously that's not a solution for everyone, considering not everyone can be good at everything. But when I'm doing things that I really hate, like tidying my room, I tend to break it up and try and gamify the task. So instead of having a big massive room to clean, I'll break it up into little sections and think, okay, after I've done this section, I'll go have a coffee. After I've done this section, I'll check Facebook or whatever, just break it up, set little goals, maybe put a timer on and see how quickly you can do the whole thing, whatever it takes to gamify it and make it a bit more enjoyable.
That's a really good point. That's something that I fully advocate in terms of revision generally, even for stuff that you like. If you kind of treat it as a game, it kind of changes the dynamic. And I've actually written a post about this on my website, aliabdal.com, which will be linked here, and you can check it out if you want to read it. It's kind of based on advice that a friend of ours got from her grandma, who said that actually, the way to not stress about exams is to treat them as a game. It's a little personal game that you play with yourself. It's not about what results you get relative to your friends or your peers. It's just about whether you can kind of beat your personal best, and if not, it's fine. It's just a game.
Yeah.
All right, final question on the motivation, stress, time management thing. What do you do on the morning of an exam? I'm sitting my first GCSE in under a month, and the idea of sitting an official exam is quite nerve-wracking.
Well, so everyone has different routines, and you can see that from just walking into an exam room. Like when everyone's milling around outside an exam room, and then you see some people poring over notes, some people chatting, some people hiding away from everyone else because they don't want that stress to assimilate into them. Myself, I like to wake up, have a coffee, and just clear my mind of everything, and hopefully get to the exam place early, maybe have a walk around there to clear my mind again, and then just go in and sit down and do the exam. Yeah, that's what I do. What do you do?
That sounds so nice.
What do you do?
Yeah, it is really individual to each person. Some people would really stress out if they're doing work last minute outside the exam hall. For some people, they find that quite comforting, you know, going over their main bullet points that they made throughout their hard times studying. It obviously doesn't necessarily mean a lot goes in, but it means they're kind of reassured by looking at the work they've done over time. So really it depends completely on you, and from the sound of it, if you're a bit nervous about your exams, I'd take Paul's approach. Just make sure you have a really chill morning, make sure you focus on reminding yourself how much work you've done, that kind of thing.
One thing which my mum used to make us do when we were kids was so the day before an exam, she would take us to the park or something, and then we would just play for the evening, and that just took all our minds off the exam and helped to just diffuse the stress.
Oh, Mrs. Turn, that's so nice.
So there you go. Maybe it's from my childhood. That's why I do that on the morning of an exam.
Solid advice. Solid advice.
Yeah.
All right, so that was me, Paul, and Katherine, all final year medics at Emmanuel College, Cambridge. We were answering various questions that you guys sent in regarding motivation, stress, time management, that sort of stuff. In tomorrow's video, we're going to be answering questions related to specific study techniques, so specific things about active recall, spaced repetition, flashcards. A lot of you asked, active recall is designed for, recall, but how do you learn stuff in the first place? So we tackle issues like that in tomorrow's video. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this one. This was a little bit informal. Please do let me know in the comments what you thought of this format. I sometimes have that thing where I spend like 10 hours making like an absolutely sick video about active recall that's taken like 3 hours to film and like 8 hours to edit, and like loads of research goes into it. But given that it is exam term, and like I do want to kind of maintain this YouTube thing, but realistically I can't be making high production value videos for everything. But so I thought for this Q&A it would be good to kind of get my friend's perspective on this as well. They've both done, obviously, absolutely smashed the GCSEs and A-levels. That's why they're in Cambridge, lol. So if you didn't mind this format of video, if you like the fact that we're getting a bit of extra perspective, please do let me know in the comments. I've got lots of friends around who are more than happy to be featured on the YouTube channel and who have loads of really good advice to give. So if you guys don't mind the fact that we've just set up a tripod and sat on a bed and just talked to each other, then yeah, let me know in the comments. It would be good to hear your thoughts on that. Equally, let me know if you do prefer the sorts of videos where I am kind of giving a real sort of thought out response to a certain thing. Ideally, I'd like to do a mixture of the two, but I'd be interested to know what you guys think. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. Good luck with the revision for tomorrow. I think I'm gonna finish editing this video and sleep now. And yeah, we'll see you in tomorrow's video where we're gonna be talking about specific strategies. Really hope you found some value from this video. Have a good day. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Damn, I didn't do that properly. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next video. Good night.